Hello, I'm John Barrett, one of the faculty members here at the School of Nursing, and today we're going to demystify statistics. Our topics include absolute and relative risk. Absolute risk reduction or increase is how much does an intervention reduce or increase an outcome. Relative risk reduction or increase is how much does an intervention relative to the baseline risk reduce or increase an outcome. Let's take a look at an example. It is standard of care for many patients with COPD exacerbations to be prescribed azithromycin. There was a study in 2012 that looked at whether or not these patients had an increased risk of cardiovascular death, and indeed they did. 183% increased relative risk of cardiovascular death compared to those who did not take azithromycin. This number seems like a lot, and it is in relative terms, but in absolute terms, it's really not that much. When you take those numbers again and you calculate absolute risk increase, the risk increase was only 0.005%. And if you take a look at these numbers down in the lower right-hand corner, you can see why. There are actually very few deaths in either group, especially when you compare them to the total number of people, 347,000 in the azithromycin group and 1.3 million in the no antibiotic group. So let's take a look at how to calculate these numbers. If you take a look at this example, first you calculate the amount of deaths, the percentage of people who died in the azithromycin group, which was 29 divided by 347,000 people in the total group. That's 0.008%. And then you compare that to the no antibiotic group, which is 41 divided by 1.3 million people in that group. That's 0.002%. To look at absolute risk increase, look at the green column. You subtract the top number, which is 0.008%, minus the 0.002% to get an absolute risk increase of 0.005%. If you wanted to calculate relative risk increase, you would take the absolute risk increase number, move it to the top, and divide it by the absolute risk of death of the control group or the no antibiotic group, and that number is 183%. So if you like taking a look at these numbers, they look very different. And that's the story here, is that relative risk is an important number, but absolute risk increase and decrease is the number that actually is probably a little bit better for you to understand. So just remember that when you're looking at relative numbers, that those numbers can mislead, just like you see in advertising. Well, we hope you understand this concept, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks.